Oh!
Shut the valve off.
I can't do it anymore. God. Oh, my God, I panicked. On this next leg of my big adventure...
Whoa, we're off the ground.
I'll be taking to the skies...
Whee!
uncovering the story of penniless monks who went power mad, and working the land. But it's no 9 to 5.
In my job, it's the variety. No 2 days are the same.
I love the idea that this is your office. Pretty good office. Behind me is one of those classic English vistas. This is the direction that I've just come from, and the big lump on the horizon is Wensleydale. In front of it is the Vale of Mowbray, incredibly fertile, been farmed for thousands of years. And where I'm standing right now is known as Sutton Bank, and it marks the beginning of the North York Moors. Looking down there, there's this 140-metre death-defying plunge to the trees below. But that's perfect for me because it gives me the best possible opportunity to see the whole landscape around me. I'll show you what I mean. I'm here to get another perspective on the landscape. This part of Yorkshire has been a launch pad for gliders for the last 80 years. And now I'm going to give it a go. Andy!
Hi, pleased to meet you.
This our glider?
This is it, yeah, this is our K21.
Fortunately, instructor Andy Parish is going to actually fly my glider. So we're going to be towed up, right?
That's right, yeah.
How does the bloke know when to let go of the rope?
Well, we let go of the rope from our end.
Oh,
Our
it's
end of the
us that
airplane.
lets go.
Yeah, and we want to let go when we're in lift if we can.
And what keeps it up?
Well, that's the magic of the wing. What we need is air that's going up faster than we're coming down. And that's why you see the glider parts going round and round in little circles. They're in rising air, a column of rising air.
Do I get in the back?
No, you're going in the front seat because that's the best seat in the house.
Oh, fantastic.
You get the best view out of the front. So I'll be going in the back.
And what's this?
We always wear a parachute in a glider just in case.
Well, I don't even know how to operate one.
Neither do I. But I think you'll find out if it all goes wrong. So, if we have to jump out of the airplane, look down, grab it with both hands,
Yeah.
and pull it downwards.
Downwards, i.e.
Yeah, that way, down towards your crotch.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, you'll be on your own. I've never done a parachute jump. I don't want to start today.
There we go. Yay.
Yeah, comfortable?
Very snug. It's like being in a baby seat. I really, really don't like heights.
You're sitting in a really comfortable armchair.
Yeah.
It's just like looking down at Google Earth, something like that. Best view you'll ever get of Yorkshire, I'll tell you.
Sutton's flat top and steep drop make it a perfect launch pad. It's extraordinary as we go over the lip. 1 minute we're just like 100 foot off the ground, and then it feels like 1,000 feet off the ground.
It takes your breath away, doesn't it?
Absolutely. More typical of coastal cliffs, it was created by moving ice knocking the tops off the hills in the last ice age. And there's another landmark that catches my eye.
And then you can look back and see the White Horse there, and our
Oh, the
airfield.
horse! It's so sweet, that one, isn't it? It's only 19th century, isn't it?
1850, 1854.
Chalk horses have been around since the Iron Age. The Celts considered them divine. This is the biggest in England, but not the oldest, created by a determined Victorian schoolteacher and a group of locals.
A great navigational feature for finding your way back here in a glider.
Not bad.
You can see that 40 or 50 miles away.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bit bumpy. We release the tow rope and we're properly gliding. Oh. It is lovely, isn't it? I can really see my journey laid out beneath me now. It's extraordinary how it changes from this incredibly fertile land, but then when you see the moors ahead of you, they are immediately darker and more glowering. They're moorlands rich in history. Rievaulx Abbey was once the most powerful monastery in the north. I'll have a look at that later. Hey. Gliders can fly 180 miles at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour.
So we're going round to land now.
All right. Whoa! Hey! Fly, fly. The first few minutes, I was actually cacking myself a little bit. And then the higher you get, the more calm it gets, and then suddenly you're a big bird looking down. Yeah, it's pretty good. Next, a surprise from the monks at Ampleforth. Oh, this is one I know. Is that a Worcester pearmain?
It is indeed a Worcester pearmain, fine English apple.
Oh, we used to have a big tree in our back garden. I'm continuing my travels across the breadth of northern England, and I've ventured into the North York Moors National Park. Rievaulx Abbey. Pretty impressive from the air, but nothing quite prepares you for the epic scale of the ruins up close and the epic tale they've got to tell. Rievaulx sounds pretty exotic, doesn't it? And that's because it's a French word, as the Normans built this place. Basically, it means valley of the River Rye, Rievaulx, which is pretty straightforward. But 1,000 years ago, this was a powerhouse of a new brand of monk who set up here in order to transform monastic life in the north of England. It was a great spot to set up shop. Rich grazing land with deposits of lead and iron ready to be mined. In the 11th century, an order arrived with ambitions to become the top monastic dogs in the north of England. A few decades after William the Conqueror invaded the south of England, a handful of monks arrived here. These were the Cistercians, and their mission was to bring poverty, chastity and study back to the church. These were seriously austere guys. First of all, they'd have put up a little wooden building, then this bleaker stone one. But 100 years later, bang! Where's the poverty now? They'd put up this symphony in stone. At a time when the Catholic Church was hugely important, the Abbey was one of the most powerful in England, with 150 monks and 500 lay brothers who did most of the farming and mining. The profits from that paid for an ever-expanding monastery, and in 1220 this vast extension was built to the original church. They altered the course of the river here to maximise grazing, and even had a nearby village called Griff cleared, so monks wouldn't be bothered by locals. That's how powerful they were. This place is the perfect example of medieval imperialism. You've got this fantastic building, rammed full with money, and outside in the countryside there are peasants mired in poverty with virtually nothing to eat. And then things started to go wrong for the monastery. There was financial mismanagement, disease, corruption, and eventually Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries, ripped all the lead off the roofs and left the place virtually uninhabitable. In fact, the only reason that these ruins still exist is that for 300 years local landowners have wanted something pretty to look at. This is the perfect morality tale about an enormous organisation, very successful, but eventually gets brought low because it's got just too much money. When you look at Rievaulx, you don't think of it as a place for people going about their business. It's imbued with the romance of ruins. But I'm going south of Rievaulx, to a place on the edge of the moorland at Ampleforth, a living, thriving, modern monastery. Two ends of the monastic story, side by side. This is Ampleforth Abbey, the largest Benedictine monastery in the country. That beautiful statue there is of St Benedict, who founded the order. The Benedictines were driven out of England by the Tudors during the Reformation and couldn't come back for over another 200 years until finally they returned when the Catholics were emancipated in the 19th century. And that's when they started work on this extraordinary building. But it's not actually the history or the archaeology or the architecture I want to talk about right now. There's a little secret just round the corner which brings back vivid memories of my childhood. Growing up, we always had an apple tree at home, and its fruit seems so much sweeter than today's supermarket stuff. So I couldn't pass up the invitation to sample some of the old English varieties grown here. Planted in the early 20th century with 2,000 trees, this is Ampleforth Orchard. Managing the collection is orchardist Tim Saxby. Ampleforth's pretty far north for an orchard, isn't it?
It is. We enjoy a very sheltered location here.
What staggers me is the number of different kinds of apple you've got.
40 varieties.
The orchard produces 40 tonnes of apples a year, but also acts as a sort of custodian of rare heritage varieties.
Many of these varieties were selected for their qualities when ripe, when picked from the tree. They weren't developed to withstand the modern intensive system we have and distribution and long periods in cold store. St Edmund's Pippin, raised in the 1870s by Mr Harvey in Bury St Edmunds, so no religious context.
What does raised mean?
Raised means introduced, and that's the point when it becomes a registered variety with a name.
And what's the taste of it?
The taste is absolutely fantastic. It has this exquisite poached pear vanilla ice cream flavour and a really juicy, creamy texture.
Tim talks about the fruit almost as if it's a fine wine.
Try one. It's probably 2 to 3 weeks off being perfectly ripe.
In fact, such is his passion for the apple, he was a volunteer here long before he got the job as orchard manager. Well, you actually do get the pear straight away. Well, very nice, this one.
Good.
Very nice indeed. I've spotted an old childhood friend. Oh, this is one I know. At least you're probably going to tell me it's something entirely different, but is that a Worcester Pearmain?
It is indeed a Worcester Pearmain, fine English apple.
Oh, we used to have a big tree in our back garden. It was much bigger than this. I used to climb
Yeah,
to the
second
top.
early dessert variety.
Pick the
Does
apples.
very well this far north. Maybe a week or two off, but what do you think? Bags of juice?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's just how I remember it. They still hand-pick everything here, as the monks did 2 centuries ago. The orchard originally supplied the monastery with fruit, but 12 years ago, the monks decided to use some of their excess crop to make juice and cider with nothing extra added. What's the secret of perfect apple juice, Tim?
Ripeness. Just catching the apple at the peak of ripeness. And here we have Irish Peach and Beauty of Bath, two fantastic heritage, very early ripening fruits. And these have been picked this morning. We're going to capture all that lovely aromatic flavour and we're going to press them for fresh juice now. So should we get stuck in?
Yeah, let's. Stage 1 involves milling the fruit ready to be pressed. Traditionally, they'd have used vast wooden presses to extract the juice. We've something a bit more up to date, a hydro press. So what's happening inside there now?
There's a neoprene bladder in the middle that's filling up with water.
Yeah.
As it fills up with water, it'll exert outward pressure on the pomace, the milled apple we've just put inside, and as you can see, it's already starting to flow.
They make around 30,000 litres of cider each year and 50,000 litres of juice.
And that's all there is to it.
And the sales help raise funds for the monastery.
The press is almost done,
Yep.
and the best way to enjoy this fresh pressed juice is straight from the press.
I've really come to admire the local growers who found unique ways to make the most of this fertile land.
Cheers, you've good health.
Cheers. That is very good.
It's not bad, is it?
Very good.
On the tree this morning.
Apple orchards are a rarity in these parts, but I'm travelling south to Sand Hutton to meet a grower who specialises in an even more unexpected crop. Mediterranean herbs, coriander, chives and mint. All being grown by Alison Dodd. Alison, the smell coming off of this crop is fantastic. I can smell it from miles away.
Yes, it's really lovely fresh mint, actually, just ready to pick at the moment.
It's extraordinary. Well, until about the age of 15, I thought herbs were brown, crumbly things in the back of the cupboard.
Well, they certainly used to be, like dust, weren't they?
Yeah. With several years' experience as a chef, Alison spotted the growing trend for cooking with fresh herbs back in the 90s and established Herbs Unlimited. It's a pretty big business now, isn't it, what you're
It's
doing?
just amazing, really, you know, how it's developed.
How many herbs do you reckon you sell a week?
Well, we do salads as well, actually, so all in all, we sell about 15 tonnes a week.
That's a lot of greenery.
It is. Takes a lot of organising, actually.
The crops have to be picked, packed and delivered, all within a matter of hours. Alison supplies the catering industry up and down the country. Ironically, her business really took off in the wake of a farming catastrophe. She joined forces with a local farmer needing to diversify after foot and mouth devastated their livestock. She now farms 90 acres, employs 45 people and grows 37 varieties of herbs.
This is pineapple mint here, which has a tremendous pineapple flavour.
Have a smell. Oh yeah, very much. It really kicks off when you rub it, doesn't it? Pity this isn't smelly vision. I promise you, this does smell of pineapple.
And we've got chocolate mint next to you. That
Oh,
was
you're
amazing.
kidding. Chocolate mint?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's like a sort of really dark chocolate,
Yes,
isn't it?
it's just lovely.
What other ones do you do?
I've got apple mint down there.
Apple mint?
Yes, and we've got basil mint, grapefruit mint.
Oh, you're winding me up. You're just
No.
saying these
and,
words.
And strawberry mint. No, not at all.
Strawberry mint?
Yes, yes. And this tunnel is one of my favourites. It's the speciality tunnel. This is where I grow anything a little bit different.
One thing that's really apparent to me at first glance is this fly paper.
Yeah, that's a sticky fly trap. They're just fly indicators, really, so that we know if any of our unwelcome visitors have arrived, like aphids or anything like that. Because as soon as you get a pest on this crop, it will make it unsaleable. So it's very important that we catch them early.
Alison grows on a pretty big scale, but tries to avoid using pesticides. Instead, she prefers to bring in natural predators of any harmful bugs.
Every week we introduce either ladybird larvae or wasp larvae into here, and they will eat up our pests.
Food fashions heavily influence what Alison grows. And in recent years, there's been a high demand for colourful produce. This apparently is going to be my main course. Am I really going to eat all these?
No, you're not quite a rabbit, yes. This is an amazing collection of all the flowers that we grow that are edible, which is quite surprising because some things on here you would never expect to be edible. We've got nasturtiums, begonias, cornflowers, violas and borage. But this is a begonia flower, which I think I'm going to make you eat because it tastes very lemony.
Gosh, that is good.
It's a surprise, isn't it?
That is a very big surprise.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Or a nasturtium flower, which is quite peppery. Here you are. Here's a peppery nasturtium. Here you are.
Yeah, it is pepper, isn't it?
Yeah, very peppery.
This is like eating a bridal headdress. What else have we got?
This is a borage flower, and it's so pretty and dainty, isn't it? I'll give you that.
Oh, the middle. Oh, that's nice. Look at the way
Now, that will
came
go
out.
well in your cocktails. It'll be very nice indeed. And the last one we have are the violas, which have got lots of different colours of those. Blue and whites, blues, yellows.
I'll have a yellow.
You have a yellow.
Yeah.
There we are.
There's a white.
You're still enjoying these?
It's just mad. It's all a far cry from those neglected jars of brown dust that used to sit on the spice rack forever. Alison was really ahead of the game picking up our changing appetite for new flavours and continues to produce fresh and surprising combinations. There's a long and noble tradition of farming in this area, but I bet it's the first time anyone has ever grown here chocolate, mint, pineapple, sage and orange thyme. Coming up, off we go. More labours of the land.
As you can see, while I'm not steering it, it steers itself.
Mr. Moss, woodwork teacher at Wanstead County High School. I made good. On my coast-to-coast adventure, I'm on the southern edge of the North York Moors National Park, heading to Sproxton, where they farmed for thousands of years. Farming's the world's oldest industry, but today it uses the latest technology, and in late summer, they're revving up. It's the 1st of September, it's a really sunny day, which is great news because it's harvest time, and any moment now, these great beauties, I really love tractors, don't you, are about to set off on what's probably the most important day in the farming year. Take it away, boys! This monster fleet belongs to BHE Contractors, who supply local farms with harvesters, balers and tractors. The next 4 weeks are the busiest of the year. Today they're down on Grouse Hall Farm, part of the 1,000-acre estate where they grow barley, oats and Britain's most common arable crop, wheat. The UK grows 14.5 million tonnes of wheat a year, and Yorkshire is one of the country's breadbaskets, producing more wheat per acre than anywhere in England. It's one of our most ancient crops, but harvesting has always been a race against time. They may have only a matter of days, and that's where this beast comes in. A New Holland combine harvester. 520 horsepower, 14 tonnes of cutting-edge farming technology. At £350,000, BHE owner Simon Dunn can't afford to let it stand idle during harvest. So when the sun shines, it's go time.
This field would normally be combined in the end of September, but thankfully we're in here first day of September. It's a very short window, and when conditions are right, we've got to have the firepower to do it. The weather is our thing we're most vulnerable to. We can spend all we like on all this machinery. If the weather does not play ball, we cannot operate it.
If it rains, there can be outbreaks of pests or diseases which can spread quickly. On the other hand, if the crop's too dry, it can ripen too quickly or even just die. They literally have to make hay as soon as the sun shines.
My job is watching the weather forecast and deciding where men are going to be. Just live by it all the time. So when I come back, I want a weather unrelated job.
The size of a house. Driving this monster combine is Simon's son, Will. Right, off we go. It's quite a high-tech machine, this, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously, as you can see, by the way I'm not steering it, it steers itself.
I hadn't really paid attention to that.
Yeah.
You've had your hands on your lap all the time.
Yeah.
Will can go hands-free because the combine is steering itself, guided by a GPS and the onboard computer. They also keep the header, which cuts the corn, at the most efficient angle and check how much is being harvested. They can even tell Will where the most fertile spots are. Roughly how much would we have harvested so far?
I can actually tell you, we've harvested about 18 tonne at the moment, so...
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
As early as the 1830s, there were mechanical harvesters that combined the cutting of crops with threshing that separated off the grain. Originally, they were drawn by horse or then tractor, but the first drivable ones were used in the States in the 1930s, although it took until 1951 to develop something compact enough for smaller European fields. The old combines could harvest 5 tons a day. Modern ones can deliver 10 times that in an hour. Over the next 5 days, the harvest arrives here at the estate's huge grain store. 2/3 of today's harvest will end up as animal feed. The rest will be made into flour, about 1 million loaves worth. So this is it, the end of the process?
This is it, yep. We'll hopefully get 1,500 tonnes of wheat in here. So we have another 4 or 5 days.
So this whole place will be practically full of wheat?
Yep, yep.
Wow. It's easy to forget that we still farm on this scale in Britain. I'm really beginning to understand how hard this landscape works. In fact, it's been shaped by centuries of growing, and what's drawn me here is a harvest of a different kind. And this crop takes a while to cultivate. That larch woodland has been here for decades, but it hasn't sprung up naturally. It's a commercially grown crop to supply the posts and fences and gates for the bridleways and paths of the moors. And very close by is one of the few sawmills that still processes timber in the traditional ways. There have been sawmills near Helmsley since the 1850s. And while business is booming here at the Duncombe sawmill, what this busy yard doesn't tell you is the story of how this important part of local life almost disappeared, and would have had it not been for one former customer, Emma Woods, who took a huge gamble on it.
My husband received a letter saying that the sawmill was closing, and as he was a customer of theirs, it had been such a part of the local community, so for it to just close seemed such a pity, so decided to take it on. That was 13 years ago and haven't looked back, really.
What were you doing before that?
I was a silver specialist and I inventoried the Queen's silver collection.
So you actually worked in Buckingham Palace?
I did. It was a very spoiling and fascinating job. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And then you marry a Yorkshireman and you come up here
That's right.
and buy a sawmill?
That's right.
Did you do much carpentry before that?
No, I knew nothing about timber at all. My first day here was terrifying. I didn't know the difference between a fencing rail and a post, and so it was just the biggest learning curve.
Very brave and barking mad.
Well, I'm very lucky. I have been supported by people who have got that knowledge. It's been great fun. It really has.
250 tonnes of trees pass through the mill every year, all of it local.
The timber comes from within a 10-15 mile radius from sustainable woodland. I think where we're fairly unusual is that we actually process all the timber ourselves. We cut them ourselves, we pressure treat them, and then we turn them into gates, fence panels. They then can go locally up into the moors or wherever. So, yeah, local is very important. Yeah, local and traditional.
It all, of course, starts with the tree. Good quality wood from sustainable sources. Forester Paul Craven keeps a careful eye on the timber coming in. What are these trees, Paul?
These are larch trees.
How old do you think these would have been before they were cut?
50, 60 years old, I would say, something like that, these trees.
So it's, in a way, it's like a 50 to 60 growing cycle and harvest, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Young trees growing into older trees being cut down. You're always working for the next generation in forestry.
The larch was introduced to Britain in the 17th century. A tough, dense wood, its high resin content means it doesn't rot or splinter easily. Ideal for use outdoors on gates and fence posts, particularly where it's wet. How do you produce the perfect larch?
What we actually want is a nice straight log, not free, no branches. As the tree is growing, what we actually like is it to grow with the rings concentric.
That's not concentric middle, isn't it? In the middle, is it? It's on one side.
It's to one side,
Yeah.
so that tells me there's been probably a tree left closer which hasn't allowed light to get to it.
So it's more like this side, so it's grown more.
There's been more light
I
at this
see that,
side
yeah.
and it's pulled it out that way.
Whereas that one
Whereas that-
seems pretty perfect.
That looks better, does that one, yeah. It's more central, yeah.
How long have you been doing this job?
30 years. It's one of those jobs that gets into your blood, if you like, so I plan to carry on as long as I possibly can.
In the last year, the team in the workshop here turned those larch logs into almost 600 gates and 1,200 fence panels, many of which go to the national parks to be used on boundaries and access points. Joiner Eddie Garbett is going to let me put the finishing touches to one of his gates.
Hello there, Tony.
Hi. Looks to me like it's nearly there now. It's a proper gate.
Yeah, it's very nearly there. It's all been pressure treated, all planed up timber, all mortised and tenon jointed. Just the braces to fit and ready to go to the national parks.
Excellent. How long have you worked here, Eddie?
27 years. I've got this diagonal brace drilled out. If you're able to pass me some bolts.
Right, these bolts here?
Yeah, 3 short ones going to there.
They just hammer them out?
Yeah, just hammer them in, yeah.
I'm glad you've only given me this job to do, because I always came bottom of my class for carpentry.
You're doing very well. Turn that over.
Oh, we didn't need nuts now.
Yeah, so we need the washers on first, Tony.
Right.
Fantastic. Spot on.
How long do you reckon this gate will last?
I would say about 20 years or so.
Must be quite a nice feeling, creating something that's going to last for so long and be used by so many people.
Yeah, it's really satisfying. There could be thousands of walkers go through this gate during its lifetime. That's it. And one final touch, Duncombe Sawmill badge.
Oh, yeah, yes, gotta have that.
Fantastic. There we are, Tony. One finished gate.
Mr. Moss, woodwork teacher at Wanstead County High School. I made good. Thank you. Next, I head out onto the moors. How do you feel about this place in February?
I love it. February's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
Where my gate takes pride of place among the 4,500 in the national park. You see that little label's just a little bit wonky. I did that. I'm on my coast-to-coast adventure and I'm exploring the North York Moors National Park. These parks were born out of a campaigning movement in the 1930s to encourage landowners to make Britain's countryside accessible to everyone.
With the fresh, clean air coming across the hills and dales, and the rivers and lakes, there are thousands of square miles of country and coast which should be made into national parks.
Through mass trespasses, the campaign challenged the idea that landowners could determine who had access to our places of outstanding beauty. In 1951, an Act of Parliament saw the creation of 15 national parks. The North York Moors, one of the first, is 554 square miles with no fewer than 4,500 gates, a lot of which are the responsibility of Senior Ranger Simon Bassingdale. Hey, Simon.
Hello, Tony.
I think I recognise this gate, don't I? This is mine, yeah?
Yep, hopefully your finest handiwork.
Earlier, I helped make a gate at the local Duncombe sawmill, and now Simon's helping me hang it. You can see the old one is a bit wonky, isn't it?
This is probably used a good couple of 100 times each week, so it gets plenty of use.
Fantastic. First, it's off with the old gate. Do we just lift the hinges off now?
Not on this one. It's been tret so that no one can tamper with it or lift it off. Or
what was that word? It's been tret.
Well, it's had a treatment, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, you're like a Viking. Although the gate goes, the hinges stay firmly bolted to the gatepost.
Believe it or not, people will steal these fantastic gates.
They're not having my gate.
Definitely not.
No.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, if you can now knock the coach bolts through.
Yeah.
Go on, like you mean it. We'll try and reuse this if we can.
Yeah.
We'll take it from this high use area and use it in a lower use area. So there's probably another 10 years of life left in this gate yet. Somewhere else, a little less busy.
Whee!
Right, there we go. That's the top done. There we are.
It's done, it's off.
I'll take that back with me later on this evening.
So we're going to put on brand new door furniture?
We're going to try and use this top band just because it's already fitted in here and it's...
It's been tricked.
It has. So, are you any good with a...
No, you do that.
All
definitely.
Right.
With almost 7 million visitors a year walking these pathways, my gate's going to get a fair old bashing and needs to be sturdy and safe.
Lift it on and see if we can get it lined up.
Hey!
Right, it's looking pretty good.
What is it that you like so much about it? Because you've been doing this for 13 years now, haven't you?
In my job, it's the variety. No 2 days are the same. We look after something like 2,400 kilometres of footpaths and bridleways. By having good, well-maintained paths like this across the moors, it just keeps people on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, but how do you feel about this place in February?
I love it. February's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely love being up here. Nice and quiet, and you get a beautiful crisp day and you can see for absolute miles. My favourite time of the year. Oh yeah, that's not coming off anytime soon. Now just make sure it's clapping on the clapping post there.
A clapping post? Why do you call it a clapping post?
Because that's what the gate claps against when it claps shut.
It's another world. It's kind of a thrill to know that this gate will still be here and being used in 20 years' time.
I don't usually need to find an excuse to get out the office. There's always something out in the big wider office that needs looking at that I can come out and have a check on.
I love the idea that this is your office. Pretty good office. This fertile land seems to inspire extraordinary devotion, whether it's taking a gamble on a failing sawmill, using farmland devastated by foot and mouth to grow herbs, or preserving rare heritage apples. There must be something in the soil. Well, this is just about the end of this leg of my coast-to-coast adventure, and I must admit I never for one moment thought I would discover as much variety as I did on the North York moors. But now, take a look at this. Way over there in the distance, that is the North Sea, my first glimpse of the end of my journey. Still some 20 miles to go and plenty to see, but just before I move on, if ever you're walking down the Cleveland Way and you want to know which gate it was that I helped make, it's easy to spot. You see that little label's just a little bit wonky. I did that. Next time, it's the final leg of my coast-to-coast journey. Travelling the line that once transported ironstone from mighty kilns. Can you imagine the din, the smoke, the fire, the sheer amount of human activity that must have gone on here? I'm in awe of the handiwork of Whitby's last trawler builder. It's exquisite, isn't it? And I'm left speechless by some majestic giants. Hey! Oh, yeah! Did you see that? It is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Can't wait for that, Tony. See you next Friday at 8. Next, and new tonight, local produce and a Midsummer Eve's party. What more could anyone want? Alex Polizzi lets her hair down in spectacular Spain. Then at 10, the race is on to build the world's most luxurious cruise ship, and with cabins costing up to £8,000 a night, let's hope they get it right.